the Sun and followed by the other planets. Chakruhu, mate. Tatjanma, the birthday of the Lord. Dakshinam, very munificent. Translation purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Rasayana Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. On the day of Shravana Dvadashi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets from the Sun to Saturn were munificently charitable. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, an expert astrologer, explains the word nakshatra tarakya. The word nakshatra means the stars. The word tara in this context refers to the planets, and akya means the first one specifically mentioned. Among the planets, the first is Surya, the sun, not the moon. Therefore, according to the Vedic version, the modern astronomers' proposition that the moon is nearest to the earth should not be accepted. The chronological order in which people all over the world refer to the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, correspond to the Vedic order of the planets, and thus circumstantiates the Vedic version. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? That even though Vedic knowledge is not so widespread that you can see that even the orders of the weekdays are corresponding to the nakshatras. Apart from these, when the Lord appeared, the planets and stars became situated very auspiciously according to astrological calculations to celebrate the birth of the Lord. And we'll read a few more texts. Dvadasyam savidatishtan madhyandita gandripa vijayanama satraktaya samjanma vidur hare. O king, when the Lord appeared on Dvadashi, the 12th day of the moon, the sun was at the meridian, and as every learned scholar knows, this Dvadashi is called Vijaya. So that's today, Vijaya Dvadashi. Vijaya means victory, victorious Dvadashi. The Lord came to gain victory all over the universe. Shanka dundu bhayone dur mritanga pala nakava chitra vatitra turyanam nekroshastum bhavat. Conch shell, kitten drums, pavanas and shankas vibrated in concert. The sound of these and various other instruments was tumultuous. Ritascha sarason jityan gandharva pravarajigu tushtubur munayodeva manabha pitarognaya. Being very pleased, this last set of dancing girls, Apsaras, danced in jubilation. The best of the Gandharvas sang songs, and the great sages, demigods, Manus, Pitas, and fire gods offered prayers to satisfy the Lord. Siddha Vidyadaragana Shakim Sakim Purusha Kinra Charanayaksha Rakshamsi Suparna Bhujagattama Gayanto Tiprasam Santo Danto Vibudham Nuga Aditya Ashrama Padam Pushumai Samavakiran. The Siddhas, Vidyaras, Kimpurushas, Kinaras, Charanas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Suparnas, the best of serpents, and the followers of demigods all showered flowers on Aditi's residence, covering the entire house. while glorifying and praising the Lord and dancing. So this is the ideal way to celebrate Lord Vamanadev's appearance. Tristva Tistam Nijakarpa Sambhavam Param Samda Apavismita Grihita Deham Nijayoga Maya Prajapatischa Jayeti Vismita. When Aditi saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared from her own womb, having accepted the transcendental body by his own spiritual potency, she was struck with wonder and was very happy. Upon seeing the Lord, Prajapati Kashyapa exclaimed, Jai, Jai, in great happiness and wonder. Yat tat papurbhati vibhushan nayudhai avyakta chityaktam adarayatarai bhapupatanai charamano vatu sampasyator divyagatiryatanam. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahman dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. So we can understand pretty much the same thing happened. Similar to Krishna's appearance, he appears in his original form, holding all the divine weapons and divine attributes, and then he takes the pastime form of Vamanadev. Purport, the word nataha is significant. An actor changes their dress to play different parts, but is always the same man. Sometimes we can recognize that it's still Krishna by a yellow dhoti. Even we sing it that he wears yellow dhoti. Similarly, as described in Brahma Samhita 5:33-39, the Lord assumes many thousands of millions of forms, Advaita Achyuta Manadi Ananta Rupam Param Purana Purusham. He is always present with innumerable incarnations from Adi Muktishu Kalani Menetishtam, Nanavadara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu. Nonetheless, although he appears in various incarnations, they are not different from one another. He is the same person, with the same potency, the same eternity, and the same spiritual existence. But he can simultaneously assume various forms. When Vamanadev appeared from the womb of his mother, he appeared in the form of Narayan, with 4 hands equipped with the necessary symbolic weapons, and then immediately transformed himself into a brahmachari, Vatu. Interesting word that says necessary symbolic weapons. What are the necessary 4 necessary symbolic weapons in the hands of the Lord? Nobody knows.
Conch chakra.
Conch chakra and 2 more. Gada and Padma. Shankha chakra, Gada, Padma. Conch, mace, disc and lotus. 2 are meant for demons. Which ones?
55.
Yes, and 2 are meant for devotees. Which ones? Conch and lotus. Very good. This means that his body is not material. Nobody takes birth with 4 hands and with 4 things in their hands. One who thinks that the Supreme Lord assumes a material body is not intelligent. He has to learn more about the Lord's position. Ask him from Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Janma Karma Chamedivyam, Evam Yavetti Tattvataha. One has to understand the transcendental appearance of the Lord in his original transcendental body, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Shri Vamanadev Ki Jai. And we have 3 minutes left to to discuss Vamanadev's appearance.
Well, we're fasting this morning.
We're
so
fasting.
we go.
Okay, with the blessings of Mother Krishna Rupa, we can discuss a little more. And so, yes, Vamanadev, dwarf incarnation, very interesting. When, the dwarfs are normally ugly, right? Because they have kind of adults of the size of the children with short legs and big heads, something like that. Disproportionate bodies, right? But Vamanadev appeared as a dwarf, but it specifically mentioned he was extremely beautiful. And all parts of his body were perfectly formed. So, why dwarf? Anyone has any idea? Why dwarf? Why not just little Brahmana boy? Why dwarf? Yeah.
Because of his pastime of getting Bali Maharaj to give a benediction to him, just with his tiny little legs, doing what's 3 paces of the land.
Yeah. Well, he could just be a little boy, but for the little boy, normally little boys have, not very developed intelligence, right? So they would speak like children, etc. But, he had body of the boy, but, his consciousness was an adult consciousness, and so that's why he's described as dwarf. Because if you read those chapters, you can see, like the way he was discussing things with Bali Maharaj, etc., interacting with him, that was not the child's type of interaction at all, right? It was very mature adult interaction. And so just not to confuse anyone, otherwise it would be suspicious, why this little child is so smart? Cannot be so. So he pretended to be a dwarf. Right? I'm adult, but I just look like a child. And it was very charming, like sometimes you come across this kind of children who are very small, but their intelligence is so sharp and so developed, right? You immediately can see, this is, in devotee families sometimes we have this kind of children. Anyone came across this kind of children? It's pretty impressive. But immediately it's very suspicious, okay, something, to do with Hare Krishnas. So to make, to kind of put the guards down from, what's his name? Shukracharya and other demons. He just appeared as a dwarf incarnation. And so, very interesting. This pastime is so full of valuable lessons for us to learn, right? And I was just thinking that the first and foremost lesson is what I think Prabhupada quoted, that in like a needle, out like a plow, right? And it's like perfect description of what Vamanadev did, right? In like a needle, out like not just a plow, but bigger than the universe. Right? And it's really funny pastime. Second step, right? He, with his toe, he penetrated the coverings of the universe and caused celestial Ganga to descend, and it washed his feet. So in one place Prabhupada says that, normally devotees are washing the Lord's feet. This time he washed his own feet. Self-service. Pretty interesting. And I think this is really important for us, that in like a needle, out like a plow. Right? Because, small and humble beginning. And we enter in a very simple and and humble way, and then things start happening from that point onwards. But we can see that oftentimes devotees go in like a plow, right? And they cannot even enter anyway. Right. So I think this is the first lesson for us to learn from Vamanadev. Be a little humble. Because, even though we have this as our principle, Trinada Pismechana, right? Humility, tolerance, respect, but oftentimes dealing with people, we're not like that, unfortunately. Right? Somehow we think that, because, and we kind of discussed that, I think, yesterday, right? That because Shastra is describing, that we spoke about it in Brisbane. Because Prabhupada speaks in his purpose that devotees are the best people on earth, devotees are really rare, devotees have all the qualities of the demigods, right? Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavati Kinchana, etc. And devotees are chanting Hare Krishna and worshipping the Lord. And I'm reading this purpose and I'm thinking, yes, this is me here. And that rarest personality in the world. But then we read a little further down the purport and then we come across devotee is the one who always remembers Krishna and never forgets him. And at that point we might scratch our nose again. Does that refer to me? Do I always remember the Lord? And never forget him? So we can understand that, yes, devotees are very rare. And it's like, one time, one devotee came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, in your books you are saying that by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, many demigods and demons becoming devotees of the Lord, taking up to devotional service. And yes, demigods is clear, right? That the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also mentions that even demigods lining up in heavenly planets to have the opportunity to take birth. Now in Kali Yuga to take part in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. But this thing that many demons becoming devotees of the Lord, it's kind of a little bit unusual statement because these are rare occurrences that demons becoming devotees, right? That the entire Bhagavatam, we only have like literally a handful of examples how demons becoming devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, Pali Maharaj, but it's very rare that demons become devotees. So what does it mean that many demigods and demons taking up to the process of devotional service? What do you mean by that? And Prabhupada looked at the devotee and he said, so do you think you are a demigod? I think it's really important, to clearly remember where have we come from, which background have we come from. But the tendency of the condition, so unfortunate tendency is, forgetting very, very quickly where are we originating from and what kind of category we belong to. And so, unfortunately, if we become too proud of our, as Prabhupada says, borrowed peacock plums, that, because pride, as we know, is the first demoniac quality. Dambho, Dano, Vimamascha, Krodha, Parushamevacha. And plus, it is an indication that they absolutely understand nothing about Krishna consciousness because the real knowledge, according to the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the whole big list of the items of knowledge, and what are the first two items? Amanitva, Mananditva, that it is humility and pridelessness. And so, unless and until one has at least these two, there is absolutely, that makes one absolutely, in absolute ignorance. That's basically it. It's amazing that the first two qualities of real knowledge are humility and pridelessness, and so unless and until we have those, we cannot even have any knowledge. We can't even properly follow the process of devotional service. Of course, for the sake of prestige, we might pretend for a while, right? Might play the part of the devotee, but it's not very long lasting, so it's really important to become genuine. And humility is really, really important in Krishna consciousness. And so, yes, Vamanadev is showing that example, that humility wins the hearts, right? Humility and simplicity, this is so powerful. And so, I mean, we could have the entire planet for us. We could have the entire universe Krishna conscious, if we would be a little bit more simple and more humble. But unfortunately, we, for 50 years we make the same mistake, and so I think today is the day to pray to Lord Vamanadev to finally give us little humility and simplicity, so that we could start developing our Krishna consciousness. And so, and of course there are many other lessons to learn from this pastime, that the Lord takes the entire universe from Bali Maharaj, but it's very interesting that he displays his pastime in such a way that he covers lower and upper planetary systems with 2 steps, and he doesn't have any place for his first step. And then, of course, he gets Bali Maharaj himself. And then, Bali Maharaj is a perfect example of Atma Nivedana, and it's an indication that the Lord is not interested just in anything material. He is interested in his devotee. Right? He came for Bali Maharaj. He came to give his blessing to Bali Maharaj and make him into a great devotee and prove his amazing qualities for forever, right? To be glorified. And it's a very important example for us, because sometimes we think, oh yes, that we want to conquer, like Vamanadev came to conquer the kingdom of demons and give it to the devotees, demigods, right? But he didn't come just for the universe, he came for Bali Maharaj. And sometimes we think, okay, say, here is this really wealthy man, and let me get money off him and use them in Krishna's service, right? Let him get the benefit. But the most important, the most valuable thing about someone who has wealth is not money. It's not even one's position. What is the most important? What is the most valuable thing?
Him.
Yeah, intelligence, right? Because this successful man has special intelligence, which is an indication that he has done something for Krishna because he was blessed with that, right? That's the most important thing. That's the most valuable thing. And if you just come to a wealthy man asking for something, you can get that. But it's all temporary. But if you get that man interested in Krishna consciousness, then he would be giving everything. And so how do you do it? It's to have the mentality of giving rather than taking. Because, everybody comes to successful people, wealthy people, asking them for tons of things. And so, if we behave in the same way, how are we different from other beggars? It's not very impressive. But if you come to this man and instead of taking things from him, if you give him Krishna, and what does it mean giving these people Krishna? That means giving them responsibility in Krishna service. Then you don't need to ask for anything, because already everything will be engaged in Krishna service. And so, this was Prabhupada's strategy. Like one time, at one point, Ambarish Prabhu, he said he was a little bit doubtful about Prabhupada's motivations in regards to himself. And so he actually asked Srila Prabhupada, and it's really amazing. I mean, it's such an admirable feature of Srila Prabhupada, despite of his greatness, he was so simple and so approachable. Actually, he was allowing his disciples to express any doubts and ask any questions, no matter how uncomfortable these questions seem to be. And he was willing to, clarify their doubts. And so Ambarish Prabhu approached him and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I was wondering if you're really interested in my money or in me. And Prabhupada said, I don't need your money without you. I need you. And you can see that instead of taking money from Ambarish Prabhu, he gave him the responsibility for constructing Temple of Vedic Planetarium. And Srila Prabhupada is more than 40 years physically left the planet, and Ambarish Prabhu, despite of any obstacles, still carries on, and he actually invested not just some, but pretty much all his wealth in the service. And so that is the strategy, which is very important. Not to be interested in something from people, but to be interested in people. Right? Holistic approach. This is what our acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada and Shastra, is teaching us. And there are many more valuable questions we could learn from this very important pastime, from the example of Sri Vamanadev. But let's see if any of you have any realizations or points to share in regards to Vamanadev's appearance. Well, you, okay. Please.
Right at the beginning of the purport, you mentioned. You mentioned that the nakshatras are related to the days of the week.
Yeah.
And with Vedic astrology and numerology, Tuesday is related to Mars,
Yeah.
which is related to red. So I thought it was nice that the deities are wearing red today. But my question is,
Interesting.
yes, Margi red is today, tomorrow's green. I don't know if they'll be wearing green.
Well, actually, red is for Ekadashi, but it's interesting, yeah, it coincided.
Yes. Can devotees use astrology such as this to enhance their service, their activities?
Yes, I think we've kind of spoken about it yesterday. Astrology is precise Vedic science, and it can give immense benefit in the same way as medical science, but the important thing is to have expert astrologer. That's why, Hare Krishna, that's why sometimes you can read Srila Prabhupada glorifies astrology, and sometimes he condemns astrology. So he glorifies astrology if it is used by experts in the service of the Lord, but he condemns astrology when it is used by laymen for their selfish purposes. So, same like medical science. If the doctor is not good, yesterday we discussed that instead of healing, he will be killing. And so it's important. Astrology is perfect Vedic science, but it's important to have expert astrologer. Myself, just if I'm using astrology, just in case, I'm consulting with few astrologers to see if they are saying the right thing. Yes.
Hare Krishna. In relation to Vamanadev's appearance, the Ganges came from him kicking the opening in the universe, which in itself is a very mystical, amazing experience that should happen. And that happened in this particular cycle of time, in this universe, because we have the Ganges here, so I guess that's the origin of it. Or did that happen at another time? Does it happen in other yugas, in other millenniums?
Yeah, we understand that all the pastimes of the Lord are recurring regularly. So yes, we don't know much details about other pastimes of Vamanadev, but apparently yes, he comes regularly and he does similar pastime. Yeah.
So on this occasion, he somehow broke the edge of the universe and the Ganges came in. I think in this pastime it doesn't talk much about that as a benediction, that the Ganges came in. We understand it as being a great benediction that we have the Ganges on this planet, and that it's actually traveling through the universe itself. So that's a very important thing, I think, that Lord Vamana gave. He gave us the Ganges River, which of course now is, historically so important to hundreds of millions of people through Kumbh Melas.
Yeah, I've seen one BBC documentary on Ganges, and it's very interesting. They say, according to ancient Indian texts, Ganga is not originating from the earth planet, it descends from heaven. And sometimes being in Himalayas and seeing the place where Ganga is coming from, you can believe it is true. And they show the footage of torrential rainfall in Ganga, like literally waterfalls are descending on the mountains. It's like really interesting. It's, they show ABC. It actually descends. It's not just a myth. It's very interesting.
When the Ganges comes into, it's coming from the feet of Vishnu. I'm not too sure about that, the cosmology of that, how the Ganges is sitting outside of this universe, and then, because I understood the universe was floating out of Mother Vishnu, were floating, and that they were contact him. So how does that happen?
Well, I think one devotee, Jai Prabhu, he wrote one book, Our Mother Ganga, and all the information is there, how Ganga is traveling throughout the cosmos and is reaching our planet. All these details are there. Apparently the Milky Way is the path of this celestial Ganga.
Well, that's certainly on its own, apart from anything else that Vamanadev did.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing, wonderful pastime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shaktiman.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It works indeed.
So we understand that there's, I believe, 8 shells, 8 layers of the universe, earth, water, fire, so forth, and each is 10 times thicker than the first. And scaling that down, if we were to say that the universe is 1 centimeter, then by the time we get to the end, it ends up being about 1,000 kilometers. So if Vamana is taking like 2 steps in that small realm, and his toe is piercing right through, did his toe also sort of shoot forward?
No, his toe didn't pierce all the coverings of the universe, but because, the closest and thinnest cover for us is Earth, right? It described that the inner cover is Earth element, and then there is water element, right? And then there is fire, and then air, and then ether, and then mind, intelligence, and falsity, right? And each cover is 10 times thicker than the previous one, right? This is how it is described in the 5th canto. And so he just basically pierced the earth cover, and so the water cover, the Ganga came from the water cover. So he didn't pierce all the 8 coverings. He just pierced the inner crust. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Also have one other question. I'm wondering about the primary motivation for Krishna to appear as Vamanadev. One might say, it's for Lord Indra to get the universe back. And others might say it's actually Bali Maharaj's devotion, which you could then say actually it's Prahlad Maharaj's devotion, because it's in Bhagavatamrita. He says, I've got nothing to do with Bali Maharaj, really. It's only for my love for Prahlad Maharaj that I show Bali my mercy. So what is the primary
Motivation. Yeah, actually it's all because Krishna, Vamanadev, he is neutral, and he, it's like in Bhagavad Gita he says, Samoham Sarvabhutishu Namedishtasana Priya, but then, he says, I'm equal to everyone, and there is no one I am hating, and there is no one who is very dear to me. But then, last 2 lines he says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahitateshu chapyaham, that those who worshipping me, they are very dear to me. They are getting all the mercy. And how that works out, it's very simple. Like you're living in a very nice rural environment in here, and I'm sure you've seen baby birds fed by the mother bird, right? And so, which baby bird gets most food?
One that quacks the loudest.
Yeah, one who, attracts mother's attention, and one who sticks the head higher and makes a louder sound, right? So the mother thinks, okay, this baby is really hungry, so let me feed that baby. And so, because devotees are glorifying the Lord, they're making most of the sound. So the Lord is giving them most of the mercy. Otherwise, he is neutral to everyone. Whoever approaches him, whoever interacts with him, gets the mercy. But those who are interacting in the most intimate way, they're getting most of the mercy. And so, Vamanadev, in this case, or any other incarnation of the Lord, they come to benefit everyone. Demigods, demons, everybody. But whoever is closest, whoever is more surrendered, they're getting more mercy. Yeah. Thank you. Bharat.
What's the correlation between the evolution of the jiva and incarnations of Vishnu?
Oh, wow, that's really deep thing. I mean, it's described in that famous conversation of Bhakti Saraswati with Professor, I can't remember his name, from Ohio University. He was asking this question, so he gives very elaborate and such a mind-blowing example that after that professor surrenders and becomes really humble and accepts Bhakti Saraswati as his guru, even though in the beginning he's like so proud and so challenging. And so, yeah, I mean, Bhakti Saraswati in a nutshell just explained that the 10 avatars are showing the gradual evolution of the jivas in the material world, and each avatar comes to connect with the jivas on every single stage of their evolution. You know, even like those who are in the water, they get mercy from Matsya and from Kurma, etc. And all the way up to advanced human beings and even to barbarian humans, like Kalki is dealing with barbarian humans, etc. So yes, the Lord is displaying all these avatars to connect with everybody, to give His mercy to every single Jew. Like that. And so, yeah, what more elaborate description is given in that conversation. One other quick thing I wanted to mention, which is very practical and important for us. That's something, which came from the meditation of the devotees involved in Bhakti Vriksha program. And they came up with these 3 steps of Vamanadev, which are 3C, and which are perfectly depicted in his pastime. 3C stands for connect, cultivate, and care. So first, Vamanadev came, he connected with Bali Maharaj, then he cultivated him, talked him into whatever he wanted to do, and then he cared as well. And so, yeah, this is a perfect way for us to interact with anyone. I was thinking that this is a perfect model, not just for Bhakti Vriksha, but for any outreach initiative. Connect, cultivate, and care. And the other big thing I wanted to mention also in regards to these 3 steps, somehow these 3 steps are really powerful, that actually on the 3rd step was the step of mercy of Lord Vamanadev, and somehow I was thinking about this instruction which Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita for Arjuna to become free from the influence of the duality in his service. What's that? Some Sukhe Dukhe Samekripa Labha Labha Jaya Jaya, right? That Krishna says that do not worry about Sukha, happiness, Dukkha, misery, Sameh, be equiposed in happiness and distress, in victory or defeat, honor and dishonor. And this is really important for us. because the first step Vamanadev made, he covered all the lower planets, right? From the bottom to the middle of the universe. So the lower planetary system, this is where all the miserable people live, right? All the hellish planets are there, etc. And then he covered all the heavenly planets with the second step. This is where all so-called happy people live, right? And so, we struggle with this in Krishna consciousness, right? That unfortunately, because we're not yet advanced in Krishna consciousness, I'm sure few of the devotees in here are, won't be mentioning names, not to embarrass anyone, but it's true for a majority of us that when the troubles come, we try to avoid troubles, and if we cannot avoid troubles, we complain to Krishna. Why have you given me this trouble? And if happiness comes, we're trying to hold on to it with both hands, right? As long as we can. But we don't understand what's the meaning, what is the purpose of so-called happiness and distress, and what is actually better for our Krishna consciousness. Anyone knows? What's more beneficial for us?
Distress.
Distress, yes. Why? Distress is beneficial.
Makes you hang on to Krishna.
Yeah. Any of you? Huh?
You can share it with others.
Distress.
You have company.
Yeah, people love complaining, right? Moaning and groaning. So yes, any of you had this experience that when you're in trouble, it's so easy to remember Krishna, and when things are going very nicely, it's so hard. Anyone had this experience? It's very common, very difficult. That's why actually distress is Krishna's mercy. There are so many benefits, unlimited benefits. But the most important benefit is that it gives us ability to always think of Krishna, to actually, expedite our Krishna consciousness like anything. Anyone had that experience? If you're in deep trouble, your Krishna consciousness just, skyrockets. Anyone? I'm sure more devotees have this experience. And so, yes, that's why Krishna conscious approach is to see benefit in trouble, right? And then if you see benefit in trouble, trouble disappears, right? And what's Krishna conscious approach to benefits? Perks. I gave you a hint. Krishna conscious way is to see benefit in trouble. How do we approach benefit? How do we approach good things? We see trouble in benefit. How many of you had that experience? That something which looked very attractive and very promising, and you grabbed on it and you got an electric shock. So that's very common. And so that's why we should use both. Like Vamanadev gave the entire universe, all the troublesome part, the whole troublesome part of the universe, and the whole and beneficial part of the universe he gave, right, to Vamanadev. And so our karma is also consisting of these things, two things, right? Troublesome karma, bad karma, and beneficial, good karma. And so both, instead of trying to avoid bad karma and trying to somehow grab onto good karma, trying to enjoy, we should dedicate both in Krishna service, right? When we have bad patches in our karma, how do we use it in Krishna service? By surrendering into Krishna, right? And so how do we use good karma in Krishna service?
Surrendering, offering. Offer to them.
That's right, yes. Use your good karma for Krishna. And whenever I speak about this subject, I cannot, avoid thinking of Ajita Prabhu. Because this man, he could be a multi-millionaire. He could be such a successful businessman, enjoying his life like anything. Yeah, he was smart. Because he dedicated his good karma in Krishna service, and in this way he benefited the whole community. Right? Organized such a wonderful business. It's like a very bright example of spiritual entrepreneur, and so many devotees benefit from that.
I mean, there's a mistake in the Shastra. It doesn't say celebrate, it says celebrate, right? That's a mistake, right?
And he is also humble, which is the best part. And so, whenever I see devotees like that who dedicate their good karma in Krishna service, that's very inspiring examples as well. And so this is the way to go. And then, yes, we can get actually Lord's food on our head. We dedicate both our good and bad karma in Krishna service. So, Mother Krishna, microphone.
I've forgotten now what I was going to say. Yes, Ajita Prabhu is a shining example for all of us. Very, very dedicated, and always hears the complaints very, very calmly. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I forget which chapter in Bhagavad-gita, but there's a wonderful purport that really struck home to me at a particular time in my life. I was going through a very, very difficult time. And Prabhupada was saying in the purport that, and we've heard this many times before, that a devotee, when he is suffering, he actually is grateful to Krishna. Because he said he or she think, well, actually, I really deserve so much more, but Krishna's minimized it. And there's that wonderful example where Srila Prabhupada got a paper cut on his finger, and he said, well, actually, I should have had my whole hand cut off, but I just got a paper cut. And then in that same purport, Prabhupada says, when the devotee is going through some more comfortable situation, he actually thanks Krishna, and he makes sure that he uses that for devotional service. So increase your service, not that you're just, enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And just speaking to your comment where we were talking about the 3 C's, connect, cultivate, care. It's very important to remember those 3 C's, not when you're just dealing with people whom you're trying to encourage in devotional service, or new people, but also that we have those 3 C's up in mind when we're dealing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And someone told me a funny story once that there was this gentleman who'd been coming to the Sunday feast for like 20 years. Every Sunday he'd come to the Sunday feast. And one day a devotee said to him, well, you've been coming for 20 years, why don't you join? And he said, why should I join? He said, I come to the Sunday feast and I get treated so nicely. And over the 20 years I've been coming, I've seen how you treat each other. I don't want to be part of that. So I think it's an interesting story. And we should always keep that in mind too. That often we don't recognise each other. Like your exercise on Sunday was very nice, where we thought about
the nice qualities that devotees have, and or aspiring to have nice qualities. So I think we should connect with each other, cultivate each other, and care for each other very consciously.
Thank you. I think that's really important because some time ago I read symptoms of destructive cults, and one of the symptoms is that when people just come into destructive cult, the members are trying to lure him in, that person in, by trying to impress them very nicely. But once they are in, they're getting exploited and abused, right? So, yeah, I was thinking, if we don't want people to have this impression, that we should be very careful with that. Thank you for sharing this. Alright, so I think I've abused you long enough. But yeah, since we have fasting, it's good to spend a little more time on glorifying Lord Vamanadev, and hopefully everyone will be making a point to pray to Lord Vamanadev for his special mercy today, because today is the day we can get all the blessings from him. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai,